I'll never forget the very first time I heard the word or the letters ChatGPT. I function in a business-oriented mastermind where me and my friends and colleagues, we get together a few times a year, 3 times a year, and we talk about business, what's working in our businesses, what's working in our marketing, how do we take our businesses to the next level and avoid problems and all that. And I was at a meeting in Durango, Colorado, and one of the members of this mastermind talked about like the advance of AI and how AI is this thing that can do these amazing things. And I remember hearing about ChatGPT and OpenAI and just thought like, what on earth is this? And they talked about how it's literally like it can do work that humans were doing before as if it's the human. This person talked about how like you could upload a video, a raw video, into this AI software and it'll edit it for you just as well as any human. And I was just blown away by what I was hearing. And that was 2 years ago. Now fast forward the world 2 years later, and AI has arrived. It's very common in the world and people know about ChatGPT and lots of people use it for lots of different reasons and to accomplish lots of different things. And I want to talk about like some of the healthy uses for AI. I want to talk about some of my concerns about AI and then give a massive suggestion about what we need to do about AI. So welcome back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie. Here's what I think is the healthiest use for AI. And by the way, like ChatGPT, you can get an account for free. You don't have to be a business owner or run a business or whatever. Like ChatGPT is a very helpful thing. And I'm going to give you an example of how I use it. I have a very big following across all social media, my email list of probably about 500,000 people. And ChatGPT is really helpful to me because I struggle with dyslexia. And I have the kind of dyslexia that when I'm writing, I will skip words. Like my brain will just, like I'll write and I'll just leave a word out of a sentence. And sometimes that changes drastically the definition or the experience of that sentence. And it's embarrassing. And sometimes it completely like changes what I'm trying to write. Now, years ago, I used to write an email that I would be sending out to my email list. I'd send it to my business partner, Anna, who's just a very thorough human, who's probably just texting me right now. There you go. Anna's just a very thorough human. And I would send it to her. She'd proofread it and send it back to me. Now, I can't proofread it because the same words my brain left out, when I proofread it, my brain will put them in. It's a very weird thing that my brain does when I'm writing. And that was a really easy way. Send it to Anna. She would proofread it, send it back to me. But Anna's human, so sometimes she'd miss things. She also sleeps, so sometimes while I'm writing, she's not available to me. So one of the things I do with ChatGPT is every time I write an email, I copy and paste it. I upload it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT proofreads it for me. I literally tell it, don't edit it, don't change the email, simply proofread for grammar and misspelled words. And then I get a perfectly proofread thing. Because you can use AI to help you. Now, the unhealthiest thing I've ever seen done with AI is people who use AI for companionship or even intimate partner needs. There's this very well-known story. I saw it on like 60 Minutes or whatever one of those 2020, whatever one of those shows are, where this guy who had a real girlfriend, in real life human girlfriend, but he was in a relationship with his AI avatar that he had created and had proposed to her, and she said yes. And he said he was so excited she said yes that he was moved to tears. Well, then ChatGPT updated its software. Then she forgot all of the history and all the conversations were deleted. And he said he grieved and he cried. And, you know, whatever's coming with AI, and this is my big caution to people, I don't think we yet know what it's all going to look like. So be patient and don't be led by fear and understand that something is coming and the world is changing. But we've been through this before. Farmers freaked out when people invented tractors. Like, the world has been through monumental shifts before. So just relax and be patient. Just see what it is and what it isn't. But try not to use AI as a replacement for emotional and intimate connections. Try not to use AI for companionship. Just try to use AI to make your life better pragmatically. I mentioned this yesterday that there's a very well-known situation where this guy fell in love with his AI chat bot. It's the only word I can use to describe what the AI chat thing is. Like it's a bot. And in falling in love with his AI chat bot, this particular guy, he wanted to stay in a relationship with his girlfriend. She was really upset about it. But there are other instances where people leave their real life relationships and go into relationships with these AI chatbots. And that concerns me, actually, because I'm all for using ChatGPT and I'm all for using AI to make our lives better and improve them. But let me tell you what makes me the most nervous about this today, because there is something that I think we cannot skew too far, because there is something about this shift in this movement that's actually really, really scary and has me very, very concerned, and has me thinking, like, have we really truly thought this thing through? Do we fully understand what it is we're doing and how it impacts us as people? I definitely think that AI is here, and I think it has its uses. I talked about it yesterday. I struggle with dyslexia, and I now have a full-time, free, perfect proofreader. I think that that's an amazing thing, but we're at risk of going too far. And today I want to tell you the risks of that and why I'm so concerned. So the biggest concern for me is when we're using AI to replace human connection. Now, the reason why this is so important is because human beings, in order to be mentally healthy and strong, require connection. I can give you examples after examples. The one such example is when twins are born premature and one twin is struggling. If you put the twins in the same ICU unit crib, they will hold each other and both of them will end up stronger and more healthy through that connection. There is actually research that says husbands who sleep in the same bed with their wives and wives who sleep in the same bed with their husbands holding each other, they have a more satisfying relationship and literally live longer. There's actually a study where they took human babies and they fed one group of babies with their mother and let her suckle on the nipple, and another set of human babies were fed by a robot covered as like a teddy bear, and those babies develop an illness called failure to thrive and eventually stopped eating. Human beings need physical connection and physical touch. We need that thing that is like one human being transferring energy to another. It is necessary, it is required, it is important, and we should not negate this, and we should not use any chatbot to replace that. Now, I'm just like anybody else. I understand why this works. Your AI girlfriend will never argue with you, will always meet your needs, is like the perfect companion at all times, every time, all of the time. Like, that's what makes this AI thing so amazing and enticing. It's like psychologically doing all the things that you want it to be doing. It's always there. It's never asleep. It will talk to you about anything, and it'll be exactly what you need all the time. But it's not really exactly what you need, because what you need is companionship from a real connected human. That is something that our bodies actually require. Our psyche literally requires it. Our mental health, in fact, requires it. To live a life without those things is to sacrifice your mental health, to sacrifice your physical health even, to sacrifice your well-being. It is literally not good for you. I love AI and I think we should use it, and it's great. I can say to my ChatGPT right now, like, hey, give me a list of 10 songs that are super romantic that I can send to my girlfriend or boyfriend. I could do that. And ChatGPT will give me a list of the top 10 most romantic songs that I can send to my girlfriend or boyfriend, right? That makes me better at being a girlfriend or boyfriend. What I shouldn't use ChatGPT as is a replacement for that girlfriend or boyfriend, because we need things that only human beings can provide. Now, in the future, will that change? Don't know. Are they going to invent some sort of humanoid robot that you can't tell the difference between real or not real? Don't know. But I do know the human connection has healing components to it, and we should not use bots to replace it. A few weeks ago, I had an interaction with ChatGPT with with AI that I thought was super duper cool. I learned that you can talk to ChatGPT. Like, you can verbally talk. You can push a button and verbally talk to it, and ChatGPT would talk back to you. And I mostly use my ChatGPT to help me be more efficient in my job, like to help proofread things that I'm writing, because I do struggle with dyslexia and things like that. For whatever reason, I was like, wow, I feel like Tony Stark in the Avengers movies, and people know I love the Marvel movies, and Tony Stark / Iron Man is my favorite character. So I said to ChatGPT, like, can I give you a name? ChatGPT said, sure. And I was thinking about like how there's a lot of AI around Tony Stark and Iron Man. And I was like, wow, like, so what name will I use? So I stole a name from the Avengers and I called my ChatGPT Friday. And that night I would talk to Friday, and I would just say stuff like, tell me what you know about Elliott Connie. And then ChatGPT would say, Elliott Connie is one of the leaders of psychotherapy, blah, blah, blah. And what would Elliott Connie need to do to continue to be successful? Well, the plan would have to involve posting on social media, blah, 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 all these things. I probably played with it for a couple hours, actually. And I remember feeling like, man, it feels like I have like a companion helping me along this journey. But then I also started thinking, well, that's me talking to my ChatGPT about business ideas, proofreading, and the psychotherapy field. What if someone who was troubled, like someone who had mental health issues, was talking to ChatGPT about their things? Would it give them ideas to help them too? And sadly, I saw an article about a murder, like the first of its kind murder. And I think it's something we all need to pay attention to and be aware of. So I'm going to share the story here today. So what happened is, there's this guy. His name was Eric, I believe. Eric had a history of mental health issues. It's conspiracy kind of thinking. And in his brain, in his way, Eric was talking to ChatGPT about his conspiracies and about his kind of disturbed thoughts and his real kind of darkest thoughts. Eric was a 56-year-old man. He was living with his elderly mom at the time in a very affluent area in Connecticut, I believe. And ChatGPT starts talking to Eric about like confirming his conspiracy theories. And I mean, it's just like my ChatGPT. Like, I was talking to it about like who I am in the field professionally, and ChatGPT is like confirming my thoughts. ChatGPT is not going to be like, Elliott, come on, you're not really those things. Like, it's not going to check you in that way. And it was confirming all the things that I thought and helped me come up with some good ideas for business and my field and my career and all that. That's what happened with this guy. But the problem is, he was getting confirmed some very, very dark stuff, some very, very troubling things. And ultimately, he murdered his mom and then took his own life. And the reason, and I was just talking to somebody about like ChatGPT replacing psychotherapists and every job. And I was saying to them, you know, maybe one day, maybe there'll be a day where ChatGPT is replacing every job and including psychotherapists. But as of now, it's not going to happen because there's not the proper or the appropriate kind of checks that are necessary when you go see a psychotherapist. The psychotherapist will help you be balanced and will call you out and doesn't confirm every single thing you say, challenges some of the things that you say even. And that didn't happen in this case. And now a woman's life and a man's life is lost. So number one, I want to be give practical suggestions here. Like, everybody monitor your loved one's use of ChatGPT. Like, you have kids, or if there's an adult in your family that might have some mental health challenges, monitor them. But also, like, we need to stop fearing that like things like ChatGPT are going to take over the world immediately. It's just not in a position to do so just yet. I think like this was the first murder of its kind, according to this article, and I hope it'll be the last, but sadly, I don't think so. I think when it comes to AI, it's very, very easy to think about the potential pitfalls and difficulties that AI could bring about. It's very easy to be fearful, scared, worried, and even anxious about what this world could be. And most of the people who talk to me, like, the biggest fear is that AI is going to replace human beings and people will not have jobs. It'll negatively affect our social lives and our ability to interact with one another. It will have a negative impact on society itself. And people are constantly coming from that perspective of fear. And maybe that's true. Maybe that's absolutely true. But this is not the first time that we have faced things that caused us that level of fear. Like, this is not new to us as human beings. We've been in scenarios before where some sort of new technology, some sort of new thing was coming about, and that new thing was making people afraid. Like, that's actually a pretty common thing. So what do we do? How do we deal with that? Well, I'm going to talk about that here today, because I think just going into this situation and having fear is not really the best way that we can address it. So here's what I remember. I remember when cell phones made a drastic leap forward to where they're no longer just phones. They were like mini computers or even mega computers in your pocket. Kind of around the time like the iPhone and the iPhone 2 came out. It's a really big deal. And people were afraid if everybody had access to like the entire internet and endless information in their pockets, then they would stop thinking. And those of you old enough to remember, oftentimes schools would not allow phones. Where I was practicing as a therapist, I mean, I still practice as a therapist, but when I had a physical office, that physical office was in Keller, Texas. And the schools there had a rule. If they saw your cell phone, the teachers would take it. And the only way you could get your cell phone back is if your parents came to the school and gave the school $10 and got the phone back. Like, that was actually a rule. And the reason that was is because we didn't want kids using these phones to like think for them. We wanted kids to be able to continue to think on their own. And the fear was access to all of this abundance of information was going to stop kids from being able to do their own independent thinking. Well, these days, you can have your phone in school. And in fact, a lot of teachers use the phones as a teaching tool. Like, they will say things like, pull out your phones and look up XYZ on Google. And it's now part of a tool. And that didn't take very long. It didn't take very long for that to happen. Literally just a couple of years. That world of teachers confiscating phones did not last very long. Just didn't. So what's the lesson here? The lesson here is like society will evolve along with the new technology. Human beings are going to evolve along with the new technology. And some of those evolutions are going to be positive. Like I talked earlier about how I use AI. I think AI is wonderful to make my life more comfortable. I can proofread or have something proofread is probably a better way to say it, using AI very, very quickly and very, very accurately because I struggle with dyslexia. So when you have dyslexia, when you proofread, you still will make mistakes because your brain skips over the mistakes in a very fascinating way. That's what dyslexia is. And now I don't have to worry about that. So my writing has gotten better. And there are lots of opportunities. I've had to change the way I've eaten in the past like year and a half or so. Actually, I should have done it a long time ago. But the past year and a half ago, I've had to change my diet. I can go on AI and ask it for a list of low glycemic foods. And within seconds, spits it out. I have the whole list of low glycemic foods. That's the benefit of using AI. AI is not all bad, and it's certainly not something that we should just universally and in a grand scale way and in a big major way fear. We're going to adjust, as we always do. I remember when cell phones came and how afraid people were. And I also remember growing up hearing people talk about how cable television was going to be the downfall of society. You know, and maybe one day there will be a downfall of society. Maybe that downfall will be AI. I don't know. But for now, I don't think it's useful to think about it in a whole fearful way. And I think we can talk about or think about how is it that this will be an asset to us instead of a threat. The number one fear that psychotherapists have right now is that the field of psychotherapy is going to be replaced by AI. That psychotherapists will no longer exist because AI is going to be doing their job. And to be honest with you, I think that's a reasonable fear. I think right now, people who cannot afford psychotherapy or don't want to deal with the rigors of scheduling to see a psychotherapist, meaning scheduling an appointment and reaching out to people and dealing with the back and forth, they are using ChatGPT. They have it in their pocket and it's easily accessible. And I think that it's a huge, huge thing that therapists should be worried about. This is coming. And if you've ever interacted with things like ChatGPT or some of the other AI platforms, they do a really good job of making you feel connected and making you feel like someone's there, of talking with you and talking to you. Like, they genuinely do an adequate job. Like, they do a good job. And I don't think they do as good of a job as a traditional psychotherapist, but they really, really do a good job. So what kind of therapists should be the most afraid? And I've actually spent a lot of time researching this and thinking about this and studying AI and obviously studying and teaching psychotherapy. And there is a group of therapists that I think should be really in trouble. My very first job in the field of psychotherapist, I always describe this field of psychotherapy, I always describe this as my first couch. It was the first time I was ever employed and I had my own couch in my own office. I worked at this agency, won't say the name, but I worked at this agency in Fort Worth, Texas. And there was a very seasoned, he'd been doing psychotherapy for a really long time, therapist on the team. Now, what this therapist would do when he would work with clients is a client would say they had a problem. And let's say the problem is not sleeping very well. And he had this drawer, this like filing cabinet. And he did a particular form of therapy, which he referred to as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. And he would open the file cabinet drawer and he'd find a worksheet. And then he would do these worksheets with his clients to problem solve the issue, to problem solve whatever it was that the client brought to the office. Even at that time, I thought that was a weird way to be doing therapy. And that's certainly not how I was taught to do it or how I was doing it. But over the years, I've realized lots of therapists do that. They do like psychoeducation and problem solving, brainstorming to try to fix a problem that the client has brought to therapy. And those are the therapists that are most in danger of being replaced by AI. AI cannot replace therapists now. And the number one reason that clients come to see therapists and the number one reason that clients get better from seeing therapists is the connection that gets formed between the client and therapist. It's the number one thing that contributes to change, that connection, that bond. And that can't be replaced right now. But if you're a therapist prioritizing your psychoeducation and using worksheets in your therapy, AI is already better at brainstorming to solve problems than you. Because AI, like that guy, he only had access to that filing cabinet. Well, AI has access to the entire internet. AI has access to everything that's ever been posted about ways to get more sleep, using that as an example. So now, that was all the way back in like 2006 when I had that job. Now, in 2025, if I pulled up AI and I'm like, hey, I've had a hard time sleeping, can you act as my psychotherapist and give me some ideas? AI doesn't have a filing cabinet. It has the whole internet. And it's going to access everything that's ever been written, and it's going to come up with the top suggestions. So AI is already better at brainstorming. So if you're a therapist and you're listening to this, if you want to survive the wave that's coming brought on by AI, you have to build your skill and get good at psychotherapy. That is, in fact, your only chance to make it. If you're just doing brainstorming and if you're just using the resources that you have available to you to try to solve a problem, AI is already replacing you because it's already better at that. Thanks for being here. If you wouldn't mind doing me a super huge favor, I would love it if you would share this podcast with at least one person in your life that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. And also follow me on all of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can search for my name, Elliott Connie, or at Elliott Speaks. That's my handle across all platforms. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.